The hospital corridor gleamed with afternoon sunlight streaming through tall windows. Dr. Melissa Grant walked quickly toward the pediatric wing. Her blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her pale blue scrubs wrinkled from a 14-hour shift. 29 years old, and she still felt like she was running to catch up with life. Medical school debt, endless shifts, an apartment she barely saw. But she loved her work. Loved the children who trusted her with their fears and pain. She turned the corner and nearly collided with a man in an expensive charcoal suit. He was maybe 38, with dark hair and striking features that seemed vaguely familiar. A small boy, perhaps 4 years old, clung to his hand, wide-eyed and clearly frightened. "I'm so sorry," Melissa said quickly. "Are you looking for someone?" The man stared at her, his expression shifting from distraction to something Melissa couldn't quite read. Recognition, maybe. Or shock. "Dr. Grant," he said slowly. Melissa glanced at her name badge, then back at him, confused. "Yes, have we met?" 15 years ago, he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Riverside Memorial. You were a Candy Striper volunteer. I was 14. Motorcycle accident." The memory hit Melissa like a wave. A terrified teenage boy, covered in road rash and bruises, crying for his mother who couldn't be there. She'd been just 14 herself, volunteering for her school's community service requirement. She'd held his hand through the pain. Talked to him about anything and everything to distract him. Stayed past her shift because he was alone and scared. "Alex?" she whispered. "Alex Brennan?" His eyes brightened. "You remember?" "Of course I remember. You were so brave. You told me about wanting to build companies, change the world." Melissa smiled at the memory. "You said you'd do something important someday." "Alexander Brennan," he said, extending his hand formally, though his voice was warm. "CEO of Brennan Technologies. And this is my son, Tyler." The little boy pressed closer to his father's leg, thumb in his mouth. Melissa knelt down to Tyler's level. "Hi, Tyler, I'm Dr. Melissa. Are you here to see someone?" Tyler nodded, his blue eyes filling with tears. Alexander's jaw tightened. "His mother, my wife, she was in a car accident this morning. They said she might not make it." The professional in Melissa kicked in immediately. "What room?" "ICU, room 412, but they won't let Tyler in. He's too young." I didn't know what else to do, so I brought him anyway. "He needs to know I'm here even if he can't see her." Melissa saw the pain in Alexander's eyes. The same fear she'd seen 15 years ago, just in a grown man now carrying the weight of protecting his child. "Wait here," she said gently. She returned 10 minutes later with a tablet and a kind-faced ICU nurse named Janet. "Tyler," Melissa said softly, sitting beside him. "Your mama is sleeping right now because she's hurt. But we can see her on this screen, okay? And you can talk to her. Sometimes people who are sleeping can still hear the people they love." Janet set up a video call. On the screen, Tyler could see his mother, peaceful despite the tubes and monitors. "Mama," Tyler whispered, reaching toward the screen. Alexander's hand trembled as he held the tablet steady. His eyes met Melissa's over his son's head, gratitude and old memories mingling in his expression. They sat there for an hour. Tyler talked to his mother about his toy trucks, his favorite breakfast, how much he missed her. Alexander spoke quietly about loving her, needing her to fight. When visiting hours ended, Melissa walked them to the elevator. "You saved me once," Alexander said quietly, so Tyler wouldn't hear. "That night 15 years ago, I was ready to give up. The pain was unbearable, and I was alone. You held my hand and told me I was stronger than I thought. I never forgot that. You were just a scared kid who needed someone to care," Melissa said. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Alexander said firmly. "Most people wouldn't have stayed. Most 14-year-olds wouldn't have given up their evening to sit with a stranger. You did." He pulled out a business card. "This is my direct number. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. I mean that." Melissa tucked the card in her pocket, not really thinking she'd ever use it. But 3 weeks later, everything changed. Melissa's student loans had been manageable until her father's heart attack. Suddenly, she was covering his medical bills, too, trying to keep her parents from losing their house. The debt crushed her. She picked up extra shifts until exhaustion became her constant companion. But it wasn't enough. One night, after a particularly brutal shift, Melissa sat in her car in the hospital parking lot and cried. She was drowning, and she didn't know how to save herself. She thought about Alexander's card, about his offer. But asking for help felt like admitting defeat. The next day, Alexander appeared in the pediatric wing, Tyler holding his hand. Tyler was smiling now, chattering happily. "Mama came home yesterday," Tyler announced proudly when he saw Melissa. "She's getting better." Relief washed over Melissa. "That's wonderful news." Alexander pulled her aside. "I wanted to thank you in person. What you did that day, helping Tyler see his mother when he needed her most. The doctor said her recovery was remarkable. They think hearing Tyler's voice helped her fight. I'm just glad she's okay," Melissa said genuinely. Alexander studied her face. "You look exhausted." "Long shifts," Melissa said, trying to smile. "It's more than that." His voice was gentle but certain. "Tell me what's wrong." Maybe it was the kindness in his eyes. Maybe it was being too tired to pretend anymore. But Melissa told him everything. The debt, her father's illness, the impossible choice between her career and her family's survival. Alexander listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. "You saved me once," he said finally. "Now it's my turn to protect you." "I didn't tell you this to ask for money," Melissa said quickly, embarrassment flooding her. "I know. That's exactly why I'm offering. My company has a medical scholarship fund. We pay off student loans for doctors who commit to working in underserved communities for 5 years. You'd be perfect for it." "That's too convenient," Melissa said, shaking her head. "You're just helping me because you deserve it," Alexander interrupted. "Check with HR if you don't believe me. The program exists. I started it 3 years ago because I remembered how that teenage volunteer gave her time freely to help a stranger. I wanted to do the same on a larger scale. You'd be applicant number 47. He handed her a folder. "Your father's medical bills. I have connections at the hospital. They've agreed to a payment plan at 0 interest spread over 10 years. Manageable monthly payments." Melissa stared at the papers, unable to speak. "I'm not giving you charity," Alexander said. "I'm investing in someone who invested in me when it mattered most. You gave me hope when I had none. Let me give you breathing room to keep being the kind of doctor who cares enough to bend rules for a scared little boy." Tears streamed down Melissa's face. "Why? Really, why?" Alexander's expression softened. "Because 15 years ago, a girl with a kind heart taught me that success isn't measured in money. It's measured in the lives we touch. You touched mine when I needed it most. Every success I've had since then, every company I've built, every life my technology has improved, it all traces back to that night when you showed me that strangers can choose to care." 6 months later, Melissa started her position at a community health clinic. Her loans paid off, her father recovering well. She worked with families who couldn't afford traditional health care, children who reminded her why she'd become a doctor in the first place. Alexander stopped by sometimes with Tyler, bringing donations of medical equipment and books for the waiting room. But more than that, they became friends. Tyler adored Dr. Melissa, and she often found herself at the Brennan house for dinners, watching Tyler play while Alexander told her about his latest project, and she shared stories about her patients. One evening, as Tyler showed Melissa his art project, Alexander said quietly, "You know what I realized? That night 15 years ago, you didn't just save me from giving up. You showed me what kind of person I wanted to become." Melissa looked at him, at this man who'd taken a moment of teenage kindness and built a life philosophy around it. "And you showed me that kindness isn't wasted," she replied. "That small moments can echo through years in ways we never imagine." Alexander smiled. "My wife says I should tell you something. She wants to meet the person who saved me all those years ago. The person who, in a way, made our family possible." "I'd like that," Melissa said softly. As she watched Tyler draw pictures of rocket ships and Alexander work on his laptop while keeping one eye on his son, Melissa understood something profound. We save each other in small ways every day. A hand held in pain, a rule bent for compassion, a debt forgiven, a chance given. And sometimes, years later, those small kindnesses circle back and save us in return. The teenage volunteer and the scared boy on a hospital bed had both grown into people who understood that true wealth isn't counted in money. It's counted in moments of grace, in choices to help when we don't have to, in remembering that we're all connected by our shared humanity. 15 years had passed, but the lesson remained. Be kind, show up, care about the stranger in front of you, because you never know when that moment of compassion might change everything, for them and for you. If this story resonated with you, please like and share it with someone who believes in the power of small kindnesses. Subscribe for more stories about compassion, second chances, and the connections that shape our lives. Comment below about a time when someone's kindness came back to bless you, or when a small act of care made a bigger difference than you imagined. Your story could inspire someone today.